Welcome into the Cowboys Report. Happy draft day, everybody. We are now just hours away from the start of this year's NFL draft. We will be live for it, so make sure notifications are turned on. We'll go live in the middle part of round one. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV, as we'll break down the latest Cowboys draft rumors, beginning with the latest Mel Kiper, I should say final Mel Kiper mock draft, although he did make changes this morning, so maybe there's more changes to come, but I kind of doubt it from that standpoint. Dalton Kincaid was the pick for the Dallas Cowboys in Mel's mock draft. Worth noting that Mel had the right pick last year for the Cowboys. He had Tyler Smith, and if Dalton Kincaid is there, I think he'd be, if not the highest player, one of the highest graded players left on the Cowboys big board. It's a matter of, does he get there or not? As a pure pass catcher, I think Kincaid is the best one in this year's class. 70 catches, 890 yards, almost an average of 13, 8 scores. The USC game was objectively funny to watch because they just kept throwing to Kincaid, and USC had no answer. He torched them in that game. He's very productive, very good athlete. Don't love him as a blocker. I don't think he's ever going to be a plus factor there. Almost kind of more of the big slot type of guy. Had a back issue at the end of the season that is a red flag, but if that is indeed medically cleared, if the Cowboys are comfortable with that, he is a very viable candidate in the event he falls to the Cowboys pick at number 26. Here's what Mel argued in favor of the Kincaid pick. Here's how Dallas could level up its offense. Kincaid is a dynamic pass catcher who can find open spots in the middle of the field and stretch the seams on vertical routes. He'd help Dak Prescott from day one. If the Cowboys don't take a tight end, keep an eye on edge rushers, which I think would fall into the Will McDonald conversation we had on my final mock draft yesterday. But the tight end buzz has been very real. In fact, everything we're talking about on today's show is tight end. That has been a very real possibility here for the Cowboys in some of the more insidery mock drafts that have come out. So we'll spend some more time on Kincaid and more here. But who do you think will be the pick in round one? It is a guess, and your guess is as good as mine. Head down to the comment section and make it for me. Who will be the round one pick? It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know. I still do not know what the pick is going to be for the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't think anyone really knows in the same way we've had a really strong feeling about they love Tristan Hill, they love Sam Williams, they really wanted, one of the corners, they got Micah Parsons, ended up working out really well for Dallas there. They love Leighton Vander Esch. We've had those good feelings in the past. There are too many variables this year. There's 25 picks before you're on the clock. It's a bit of a weak-ish draft class. I think there's going to be a lot of chaos and uncertainty. Maybe a top 10 guy on your board slides down to you. In that case, you might even trade up for one. Maybe the board is all picked over. You try to trade down. I think there is more flexibility this year from the Cowboys. Now, we will be live for every single pick of the 2023 NFL Draft on the Chat Sports YouTube channel, youtube.com/@chatsports. It's that simple, folks. Go subscribe. We'll be live for every pick, all 7 rounds, youtube.com/@chatsports. I'll put a link to the streams on the community page this week, and I'll put the YouTube subscribe URL in the comments section and the description of today's video. Let's go to the Michael Mayer versus Dalton Kincaid conversation that Clarence Hill reports the Cowboys have Dalton Kincaid ahead of Michael Mayer, which I do find interesting, and depending on exactly what I think Mike McCarthy in particular is searching for, maybe you got some uncertainty on that front there. Both are viewed as likely first-round picks. Dalton Kincaid, Michael Mayer have different strengths and weaknesses. Dalton Kincaid, like we mentioned, is a great pass catcher. He's a better athlete. He brings you some juice down the field on seams, etc. But it's interesting to note that the numbers for Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer are not that different. We're talking a couple catches. Michael Mayer's a bit better red zone results because he's just a little bit bigger of a player, not by a massive margin there. I think Michael Mayer is a substantially better blocker. Maybe he's not the best tight end blocker in this class, but I think Michael Mayer gets dinged a little bit because he was so good for so long at Notre Dame. We just kind of got accustomed to it. It's like, yeah, we know he's really good, and the hypothetical upside always appeals more than maybe just like he's going to come in and be a top 15 tight end, I think, pretty much right away. I think there's a lot of value there. I have Michael Mayer higher. I want you guys, let's say in some weird scenario, which there's a multiverse out there where both guys are on the board. Who would you pick? Both players are there for you. There's no one else. It's just going to be one of these tight ends. DK for Dalton Kincaid or MM for Michael Mayer. Like I mentioned, I do have Michael Mayer higher than Dalton Kincaid. Michael Mayer, as I double-check my notes here to ensure that I've actually got things right on that front. Michael Mayer checked in at number 9 overall on my board. I have a first-round grade on him. Dalton Kincaid is a second-round grade, but he's 23 still in terms of my rankings. There's kind of a drop-off right around where the Cowboys will be picking. So if Kincaid is there, he'll be one of the higher-graded players on my board. It's not what I thought it would be, honestly, before I went in stacking it, but that's how it turned out there. In the end, I do kind of doubt either player is there. I think there's going to be an outcome where Kincaid's gone, Michael Mayer's gone, maybe one of the top 15 alongside Bijan. It's like, well, we had spent all that time talking about it, and they're long gone, which would then be, okay, how do the Cowboys, do they go to an edge or to a different tight end? And both Todd McShay and Daniel Jeremiah have a surprise first-round pick in their mock drafts for the Dallas Cowboys. That is Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State. Now, again, it's more of the tight end conversation. I will say, in general, I am not as high on, as I know others are, on Luke Musgrave. I see very large boom or bust situations here for Luke Musgrave. He is a fantastic athlete. He's 6'6", 253. He's got long arms. He's very impressive size, speed combination. The traits are awesome. He has the frame to be a good blocker, but he scares me. He had a knee injury, cost them all but 2 games here, but he was great in those 2 games. Everything about him is a very small sample size, and because of that, he had 1 drop this year. Well, that was 8.3% of all of his targets. He had 9 for 16.1% in his career. So is he going to catch the ball consistently? Despite his great size and athletic ability, he's forced 2 missed tackles in his career. I don't know how it's possible for somebody that big. He hasn't been that great in contested catches despite being a super large football player. I don't think he's a very good blocker. He's got 9 drops against 2 career touchdowns. That scares me. It also, because of the sheer athletic upside, it's like, if he hits, you're talking about a top 5 tight end in the NFL, but there's a lot of boom or bust involved there. So who do you not want to take in round 1? Sound off for me in the comments section. Which player, despite the Cowboys, I think, earning some trust with their especially first-round picks of late, who do you not want to take this year? I'm not as high on Luke Musgrave. I've got my board pulled up here. He's 60th on my board. It's a 2-3 grade. I'll make this point too. Cowboys do well in round 1. Everyone's so burned by Taco Charlton that we ignore the fact that the Cowboys have had a Pro Bowl or All-Pro in like 7 of their 8 last first-round picks. That's unbelievable hit rate. The Cowboys just do well in round 1. I am going to not be as anxious as maybe I've been in years past because I'm going to trust them from that standpoint. Now, Musgrave gets snuck into the back end of round 1 over players like Darnell Washington and Sam Laporta, Georgia, Iowa, respectively. There have been some, I'll leave it more in the whispers category of maybe some medical for Darnell Washington. Dallas brought him in for a 30 visit, so they'd at least be able to get a better checkup on that standpoint. Some whispers of a minor medical for Sam Laporta as well. So all of a sudden, if in this scenario there is that stuff, and it's whispers, we'll know what it really is based on where they go. Like if they slide, that's probably why. We'll know that come draft night. But if Darnell does have a medical thing, if Sam Laporta does too, well, now all of a sudden Luke Musgrave's pretty easily my number 3 tight end. And now it starts to make more sense why he could be the pick there in round 1.